So, good evening, everyone. We are back to the Spirit's book, and today we start book 2, chapter 1. So, I'm going to share here before we go into the book. I'm going to share quickly the presentation I did on before we started studying again the Spirit's book, and you can see here that I'm just going to show a couple of slides. So, because it's important when we study, we start studying the book 2. So in book 1, we saw the first causes. We learned that in the universe you have the creator, God, and then you have matter and spirit. And we study God, the general elements of the universe, creation and vital principle that we finished last week, intelligence and instinct. Then here we are going to start book 2, which is the spirit world. So why I wanted to show this? Because book 2, it's really the interaction between the physical world and the spiritual world, with us spirits in the middle. So we are going to study the passage from the spiritual world to the physical world, the passage from the physical world to the spiritual world, then living in the spiritual world, living in the physical world, living in the physical world and interacting with the spiritual world, and living in the spiritual world and interacting with the physical world. Just for you guys to have an idea of what we're going to cover in book 2, a reminder that Spirit's book is divided in 4 books. This is the longest one, book 2. So we are going to spend a long time here. We should cover all these aspects, okay? So that's what I wanted to show for you to have a visual idea. And now I'm going to share the Spirit's book, and we are going to start studying spirits, chapter 1 of book 2. Of course, we start trying to, I ask you all to put aside everything you know about spirits. So we'll start studying as we don't know what spirit is. Philip, you do the honors?
Yes. Origin and nature of spirits. How can spirits be defined? Spirits may be defined as intelligent beings of the creation. They populate the universe outside the material world. Note, the word spirit is employed here to designate extracorporeal beings and not the universal intelligent element. Continue.
Okay. No. So what are spirits? The intelligent beings of the creation. When we discussed the universal fluid or the cosmic fluid and all that is derived from the universal fluid, we stress that there is no intelligence in the universal fluid. And if anything that derives from the universal fluid, our physical body, our spiritual body, all matter that exists in the universe, all energies, they are all non-intelligent. The intelligent beings of the creation comes on this side that, and here is the note by Kardec, the side of the spirits or the spiritual world. Very important here, why Kardec says that the word spirit here is employed to designate extracorporeal beings and not the universal intelligent element. Because from the universal intelligent element, when God creates us as spiritual principle, we are not spirits. If we want to be very specific on the definitions. As spiritual principle, we go through the different kingdoms, the mineral, the vegetable, the animal kingdom, learning and accumulating experiences until we become a spirit, simple and ignorant, and we start our evolution as an individual spirit, starting our progress, starting to develop free will, and starting to use it, free will, and then creating consequences for our for our actions. So as we said before, there are no...
Yeah, I'll call you later, all right? Give me an hour. All right, bye.
There are no no karma for animals because they have no conscious of their actions. So there is no consequence. We start to create consequences for ourselves when we become individual spirits. The more we evolve, the more we know, the more responsible we are. Okay? Questions, comments here? This is the basic definition of a spirit, okay? Okay, go ahead, Philip.
77. Are spirits distinct from divinity, or are they portions of the divinity called sons or children of God for that reason? Good gracious. Spirits are the work of God, just like a machine is the work of the person who made it. The machine is the product of the person's work, but not the person. When human beings have created something useful, they call it their child or creation. Well then, the same applies to us in relation to God. We are God's children because we are the product of divine work.
Also, very important here, we are distinct from divinity. We are not part of God. We are not portion of God. We are God's creation. The comparison that the spirits make here with a machine that is a product of a person's work, but not a person, is very good. We are created by God, but we are not part of God. And you know, when I was reading this, I was thinking about the Christian belief in some sects, especially the Catholics, that Jesus and God are one and the same. And we in Spiritism, we know that Jesus started as a spirit like all of us, simple and ignorant, and reached perfection, and is responsible for this planet, the governor of the planet. But it's not God. It's just a spirit that reached perfection. So it's clear here, and we study God in the first book, right? And the attributes of the divinity, but the creation of the divinity, the creations of God are the spirits and the universal fluid, which then, that's why I showed the first slide with the three. You have the pyramid there with God on the top, and then on one side you have the spirit world or the spirits, and on the other you have the universal fluid and everything that derives from the universal fluid. And we are going to study the interaction between the two. But very, very important to understand here that we are not part of God. We are not part of the divinity. We are a creation of the divinity. And we are not also we are not part of the universal fluid. We use the universal fluid for our physical and spiritual bodies, and for other things, for our thoughts and so on. Okay. Questions here? Anyone? No? Okay. Next one.
78. Do spirits have a beginning or birth, or have they existed for all eternity like God? If spirits did not have a beginning, they would be equal to God, but they are God's creation and subject to divine will. It is indisputable that God is eternal, but we know nothing in regard to when and how we were created. In this sense, we have had no beginning since God is eternal. The Creator must have unceasingly created. As to when and how each of us was made, I will repeat, no one knows, This is a mystery.
So again, Spiritism asks us to use reason all the time, right? So if we use our reason with the limit of our capacity of understanding the creation, right? As far as we can understand, we study that God was never created, because if God was created, there would have to be another God or something, right? So God existed at all times, but we were created. We spirits, we had a beginning or a birth, as Kardec asks in the question here. But the spirits tell us here that we, when and how, we still cannot know. And maybe when we reach perfection, we will, as we become co-creators with God, the creator, we will understand. But at the moment, the spirits tell us this is a mystery. We don't know when or how, but we know we were created at a certain point, each one of us, starting as a spiritual principle, evolving, and then one day becoming an individual spirit. And we are going to study later if we have an end or not. So important here, the concept of God existing for eternity with no beginning, no end, and we being created and existing also without any end. Okay, these are all basic concepts. Yes, you have a question too, I believe, right?
Thank you. Yes. I'm hearing in that passage, am I right, that different spirits may have been created at different times? They weren't all created at once at the same time?
According to what we learn from the spirits, yes, God creates incessantly. So there are spirits being created, or as we call spiritual principle, the beginning being created at all times.
Oh my gosh, okay. So it could be that Jesus was created many millennia before me, for instance?
Oh, billions of years before us, probably.
Okay,
Because
I never realized that. I thought we were all created at once. Thank you.
No. And that's why we have spirits in all stages of evolution in the spiritual world, here and in the spiritual world, because there are spirits that are newer than others. So when we talk about Jesus, according to Spiritism, Jesus is the governor of this planet, of planet Earth, and has been responsible for the planet since its creation. So billions of years ago, 5 billion, 4 something billion years ago, when Earth was created, Jesus was already responsible for the planet and was already a perfect spirit. But even Jesus started, like all of us, went through the evolution. Now, Renato asked me a question this week, so I already answered to him, but I'll share with everybody in terms of the difference between Jesus' evolution and our evolution. That some spirits have the ability to evolve faster because they learn from their mistakes and move on. So they don't create karmas, or they don't create serious consequences. Remember, we all evolve making mistakes, learning from our mistakes. There is no karma when we make a mistake because we don't know what we're doing. But when we know what we are doing and we repeat the mistake, that's what we create a consequence, a karma for us. So what we learned, and Renato pointed the book, and I went there to read, was that Jesus is one of the spirits that was able to move faster than the rest of us in his evolutionary path. They call in the book, they call between brackets, not because there are no spirits different than others, the elected ones, but the ones that were able to evolve in a straighter line than the rest of us. But we all reach perfection, and the rest of us, he calls there in the book, we are angels, also between brackets, because there are no angels, as we know. But just a side note.
May I have a question?
Thanks to you.
May I have a question?
Sure, Paco, go ahead.
Is it possible to grow into perfection with no errors in the journey?
Well, our evolution is made of making mistakes and learning from our mistakes, right? Because, but we have to define what is a mistake, right? So, you know, you put your finger close to the fire, it burns, right? You don't get hurt because you remove your finger before you got hurt, and you never do it again. So that's the you know, you had to experience something. You had to, let's say, make a mistake, which is really not the mistake of putting your hand close to the fire to feel that it can burn you, and you learn from it and you never do it again. So, you know, you are always learning from your mistakes and mistakes of others and evolving without creating serious consequences for you, right? So the moment you learn that killing another human being, when you are in the primitive stage, let's say, when you kill your neighbor because you were fighting for food, you didn't know better. But once you learn that you shouldn't kill your neighbor, and you never killed your neighbor again, you didn't create a karma for yourself as a killing someone, right? But the problem is that most of us, we know that we are not supposed to do something, and we still do anyway. So we have God's laws imprinted in our conscience. So instinctively, we know what's right and what's wrong. When we rationalize it, and we talked about it last week when we studied intelligence and instinct, right? Instinctively, we are supposed to know how to act. And if we make mistakes because we didn't know what to do, what choice to make, we don't create consequences. Okay, was good, Paco? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Philip.
79. Since there are two general elements in the universe, the intelligent element and the material element, is it correct to say that spirits are formed from the intelligent element as inert bodies are formed from the material element? Obviously, spirits are the individualizations of the intelligent principle, as bodies are the individualizations of the material principle. It is the time and mode of this formation that are unknown to us.
So here we went over this already. So we have the two elements. So we have the universal fluid that creates the bodies and the spiritual body that we have that stays with us at all times. Our physical body that is created for each incarnation and then goes back to nature. So bodies are the individualizations of the material principle of the universal fluid. And spirits, as we discussed before, we have the intelligent principle that originates the spirits in the spiritual principle, and then spirits. Again, these are only denominations we use in Spiritism to separate the evolution from before we were individual spirits with the ability to make choices, with the intelligence, and the beginning of free will, because free will we develop also, right? As we evolve as a spirit, we acquire more and more free will. So this is again the basic information that we had already discussed. Okay. Next,
Shall I read 2?
go ahead.
80. Is the creation of spirits continuous, or did it only take place at the beginning of time? It is continuous, as God has never ceased to create.
That's the answer for your question too. Okay, the creation of spirits is continuous, and because God has never ceased to create. And again, for us to try to understand God at that level, it's very difficult. It's beyond our capacity of understanding. We just have to know that God is always creating. There is no 7th day where God rested. God is creating at all times. Okay.
81. Are spirits formed spontaneously, or do they proceed from one another? God creates them as all other creatures are created by divine will. We repeat that their origin is a mystery.
Yeah, and again, the basics. We are created by God. We do not proceed from one another like here on earth, on an incarnated beings that beings are created by the father and the mother, the physical body. We spirits are eternal, so we attach ourselves to a new physical body at the moment of conception. But our physical bodies are created by the union of the father and the mother. But spirits, no, they are created by God, and like all other creatures, by divine will. And that's as much as the spirits can explain to us. Okay?
João,
Yes, Marisa?
why do you need the body to fix our karma?
Well, this is the reincarnation process, right? For our evolution, we need to reincarnate. And we are going to study reincarnation later in this book too. But our evolutionary path, in the very beginning, we are only able to evolve through the incarnations and reincarnations, because when we are primitive spirits, we cannot learn anything in the spiritual world. So we go back and forth very fast between the physical life and the spiritual life. As we become more evolved at our stage nowadays, that we have the opportunity to learn in the spiritual world and even to correct some mistakes in the spiritual world, we do that. But still, we need reincarnation until we become perfected spirits, like Julio used to like to call. Because here, the difference between the spiritual world and here is that when we are in the spiritual world, we are surrounded by spirits that vibrate at the same level that we do. So we don't have the diversity of spirits that we have here on earth that enables us to interact with spirits that are at different paths of evolution and challenges our knowledge, our understanding, our moral and intellectual abilities. So normally what the spirits tell us is that our karma, the dealing with the consequences of our actions, is normally done in the physical world because it's the best instrument for our evolution, best available instrument. But it doesn't mean that we cannot evolve in the spiritual world. We can, after a certain level of evolution, when we reach a level that of the spirits, that can go to a place like Nosular or the transitory houses of assistance in the spiritual world, then we can learn a lot in the spiritual world. And André Luiz is the best example, right? You just have to read André Luiz's collection to see how much he evolved from the book Nosular to the last book of the collection. So you see that he can evolve, but even a spirit that is learning a lot in the spiritual world needs to come to a reincarnation, because that's when you are going to put in practice everything that you learn. And we normally compare with school, right? You go to school to learn, let's say a college. You go to college, you study, you learn, you evolve intellectually in college a lot. But to put in practice, you need to go out there and work. That's our reincarnation. We come here to put in practice what we have learned previously in previous incarnations and in the spiritual world. And we are tested because we are surrounded by our loved ones, but also by those that we have to readjust, those that caused us harm, that we harmed in the past. So that's the only way that we can test ourselves and overcome our imperfections. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like the or it's like go to the prison. Huh? You are in spiritual world. You learn there. You're supposed to do, but you have to go to the prison to learn it better, or worse.
The spirits say that when we are incarnated, we are in a prison, right? Essentially, because we don't remember anything. Most of us don't remember anything from our life in the spiritual world. We have a very vague idea for those that study a little bit more, and we have to deal with all of who we are and the consequence of our actions. So yes, they say it's a prison, but it's how we evolve. That's what the spirits tell us all the time.
Use the intuition.
Yes, that's an important instrument.
To not fail again and again and again. Yeah? Exactly. Thank you, João. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else? No. Okay, next one.
82. Is it accurate to say that spirits are immaterial? How could something for which no terms of comparison exist and that your language is unable to express be defined? Can someone born blind define light? Immaterial is not the right word. Perhaps incorporeal would be more accurate for a spirit, since it is a creation. It must be something real. The spirit is quintessentialized matter existing in a state that has no equivalent within your scope of comprehension, and it is so ethereal that it transcends your senses. We say that spirits are immaterial because their essence differs from everything that we know as matter. A nation of blind people has no way of expressing light and its effects. For someone who is born blind, the only methods of perception are sound, smell, taste, and touch. He does not understand the ideas that would be perceived by a sense that he lacks. Accordingly, with respect to the essence of superhuman beings, we are truly blind. We can only define them by comparisons that are imperfect or the product of our imagination.
Okay, so first thing here, let's talk about the word immaterial, right? Carol raised this point some time ago in a study here. And so when I came across the word again, I went to the dictionary to see if it's been used in a correct way here, and it is. It's not the first definition of immaterial is the one that has no matter, but irrelevant, right? It's the first definition in a dictionary. But here in this, we are using in the sense that it is not matter. We could have used here non-material. Is it accurate to say that spirits are non-material, which would be probably make it easier to understand? But it is not wrong in the way that is written here, okay? So, and the spirits, they go directly to answer us that our language is not, it's unable to express, and that immaterial is not the right word. So he said perhaps incorporeal, because we can only define and understand everything that is it comes from the universal fluid, because it reaches our senses in a sense that we can see, touch, rationalize, things like that. We don't have anything to relate to define what our spirits made of. But the Spirit tells us here, quintessentialized matter in a state that has no equivalent within our scope of comprehension, meaning they are something. They are not nothing, but it transcends our senses. So that's as much as we can define and understand. And Kardec then, this is on his comment, he talks about trying to explain to a nation of blind people what is light and what's the effects of light. You have no ways of expressing it. We sometimes joke, you take a cell phone to the middle of the jungle and try to explain to the natives what is a cell phone. They don't even have words in their vocabulary to express it, right? On the other hand, you go to the Eskimos and they have 37 definitions, different words for snow. And so how can they explain 37 different definitions of snow to you? We can have 2 or 3 maybe. So you see that here what the spirits are telling us is we cannot explain something that you have no idea how to understand. That's basically what they tell us here. But it's important to understand, yes, the spirits are something. Quintessentialized matter, ethereal, so ethereal that transcends our senses. This is putting in words that we can try to understand, but it is not really the definition of what is a spirit, of what a spirit is made of. Okay. Yes, Sue.
John, I've had some dreams, and this might not. I feel kind of stupid asking this, but I'm so curious. I've had dreams that seem to suggest that my vibration in my body, in my field, with the spiritual obsession I'm experiencing, that my vibration was too low for my spirit to be in my body, that it was looking at me from a short distance. I'm wondering about how identified the spirit and the material body are. Can they be separated? Or that's my question.
Yeah. What they told you about your vibration, that's not exactly correct. The spirits are not inside our physical body. There is no clear definition of where we are. We are associated with our physical body, but not really inside our physical body. And the association is permanent from the moment we are born. We are a moment of conception until the moment of death of the physical body. So there is no separation or no bad association possible, anything like that. We can disconnect temporarily, but not completely, from our physical body when we are sleeping. When you are dreaming, you go to the spiritual world. You still connected to your physical body through the silver cord, which is the main connection between the spiritual body and the physical body. We are never completely separated, because if we are separated, the physical body dies. But we go to the spiritual world. We have experiences in the spiritual world during our sleeps, and we are far from our physical body. We have mediums that are able to go to different places in a state of trance, when they are in a state of trance. But in terms of vibration, which is a separate thing, right? This thing that you are vibrating too low, our vibration, it's always, in general, is it's not linear. We go up and down with our vibrations. The problem is when we stay down too much, we end up associating with less evolved spirits that are sometimes trying to take advantage of us, or trying to associate with our imperfections because they get pleasure in their imperfections also. So that's the danger when we stay too long in a low level vibration. And a way to get out of it is by elevating our thoughts, and the most recommended way is through prayer always, but prayer really in the sense that Spiritism explains to us, which is a conversation from the bottom of our hearts with the more evolved spirits, or with directly with God if we prefer. So in that way we can separate from these bad influences that are always around us. And actually we have a question later here that talks about that we are surrounded by spirits all the time. But in terms of what you asked, is not really exactly what you said. No, first, our spiritual body, or perispirit, as it's called in Spiritism, and it's a couple of chapters down. It's not inside the physical body; it's associated with the physical body. That's the best definition we can give. And there is there's no separation or up or down in terms of spiritual influences that can affect significantly this association. What happens is that, for instance, for mediums to give communication, the spiritual body or perispirit detaches a little bit from the physical body, enters into association with another spirit, and receives the communication and transmits to the physical body. That's the study for the second part of that we're studying mediumship. But I hope I answered your question, Sue. Was good enough? Were able to understand?
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I have some questions. May I?
Sure, Paco. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, God created the spirit principle and created the cosmic fluid. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Paco, as a person, is it an individualized projection of that spirit principle?
Paco is a spirit.
A projection of the spirit principle.
Yeah, that was from the universal intelligence. Yes, the spiritual principle. It's an evolution of the spiritual principle that became an individual spirit.
Individualized, exactly. So we are projections, individualized projections of the spirit principle.
What do you mean by
Evolution.
projection?
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
What do you mean by projection? What is a
A projection? You could be like like an offshoot, like emanation, like.
No.
No, that's not correct. No.
It's not a projection. It's not an emanation.
You want to go ahead, Elmo? Continue.
Yep. When I read evolution into words, the conclusion that personally
Oh, we
I
don't know.
get
Simply, we don't know. That could be
is
an answer
that
too.
we go collectively through multiple experiences collectively, and that collectively is the intelligent principle. So as intelligent principle, we go through experiences in the mineral, in the vegetable, in the animal. We go collecting everything that is required for us to initiate the process of intelligence. You develop some intelligence. From that intelligence, not derives from, but as a prerequisite, after intelligence, we developed a little bit, very minimal free will, and come to a point that collective group, intelligent principle, individualizes. So it's like if, let's say a pineapple. Let's say a pineapple, mentalize a pineapple. And a pineapple is like, has those octagonal shapes in it, right?
Yeah.
In reality, each one of those octagonal things is a fruit. So imagine that the intelligent principle is the whole pineapple, as you can imagine, the fruit, and each one of those octagonal things is a fruit or is a, a, a portion of it that will eventually individualize, separate from that whole group of pineapple and be one individual being. Now, with a minimal, very minimal, of course, amount of intelligence that allows it to have a very small amount of free will. And with those two things, and at that moment, with the divine laws imprinted in our conscience, we are now an spirit, an individualized
Spirit.
people who has a little of intelligence, a little of free will, the divine laws imprinted in our conscience, and with the three things, we create our pathway to reach perfection.
Okay. That's given to us as we progress in that cohort, in that
Basically, there is no
collective
giving.
group.
It's all
We-
create.
Okay,
Giving, the giving is the time that we spend as an intelligent principle. And we can go collectively together, going and learning the same thing, because we have no free will. We are like the little kid, the mom and dad tells them what to do and they have to do it. We still have no free will, we have no ability of making decisions, and we are collectively together in that process until you are able to separate ourselves from one
to
another,
separate it and become individualized.
individualize, and start now with the free will intelligence, create our own pathway to reach perfection. And that's
Then
why,
you
and that's
embark.
why one goes ahead, one stays behind, one moves fast, other doesn't move so fast, because each one of us create our own pathway. So it's not really a projection. I don't know exactly what I meant by projection.
Or
but
emanation or an offshoot. I mean, because we you may say that we come not individualized, we come as collective, as cohorts, and in that process we individualize ourselves once we gain what you call the conscience and the free will.
Yeah.
Understand? But basically, originally is the spiritual principle which contains the intelligence.
the intelligent principle, we are collectively going together. We are not individualized that. It's as if you say that the class of 2021 going together, learning the same things, going to the same things until they graduate. When they graduate
Exactly.
2021, each one takes its own pathway.
Or like parents with children, they got 3 children and they, guide them and they go collectively. They expose them more or less to the same experiences, and once they become adults, they embark on their own journey.
Yeah, these are all loose comparisons, because that's of course there are differences, but there are good loose comparisons to our process. The important thing is, from spiritual principle, we become spirits, individualized spirits.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but the individualization also, it's not abrupt. Nothing is abrupt in the evolution. Okay. So in the later stages of the animal kingdom, the mammals, the more advanced members of the animal kingdom, it's not a spirit, it's already an individualized spiritual principle.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's all goes through, the transitions are never abrupt. It's always a continuation and evolution. So you can see that from the vegetable kingdom to the animal kingdom, you have some plants that eat insects, right? This is plants transitioning from the vegetable kingdom to the animal kingdom already, to show that evolution doesn't jump. It goes in a evolutionary path that is it's smooth. Okay. Right?
Yes, 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 very good.
Okay. So next
João.
one. Yes.
João,
Yes, Marisa.
if God is perfect, He create everything perfect. From where the imperfection came from?
From us.
But
Uh,
if God created us,
yeah.
if
So,
we
but
supposed to
you
be perfect.
know, here it's a complex question. You are trying to understand the creation and trying to understand God, right? Which is hard for us at our level of evolution. Now, the spirits tell us if God had created us perfect, then there would be no need of the creation. The creation is, we are supposed to be created simple and ignorant so we can reach and achieve perfection on our own merits, and then become co-workers and the co-creators of the universe. Why we're not created perfect, or why there is the need of creation, we're trying to understand above our abilities to understand God. I don't think I can go much more than that. I don't know, Elmo, if you can help me.
But I like to comment that if God had created us perfect, then we wouldn't be there would be no individuality, because then we would have become automatons, robotic people. And there's no merit on that, Joel.
I'm not even sure that there will be a necessity of the creation, right? I don't know. I'm just making a point here.
Automatons, that's I don't know. But we can say that God created us with the seed of perfection.
Exactly. God knows that we are going to be perfect.
Yeah,
but that's the destiny of everybody.
With the seed of perfection, yes.
Yeah.
No, there is a gap there. I don't know. Okay.
Elmo, you want to join us here?
It was God's design to create us simple and ignorant, and let us do the work to reach the perfection that awaits us. It's his design. It's God's designs. That's why he designed it, that we will be created simple and ignorant, meaning that we don't know anything, and we will be provide all the necessary tools and opportunities to get to know everything. And in this process, we're going to make mistakes. Some of the mistakes will be labeled evil, maybe labeled as bad, and everything else. But those are mistakes that all of us make in the process of figuring out how to better use our free will, our intelligence, to stay in harmony with the divine laws that resides in our conscience.
I don't know. I feel like somebody's doing experience with us, you know? There is something's wrong there. Something's wrong.
Yeah, we are wrong.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Why we're wrong if God is not wrong? No?
Because for us to have the merit of reaching perfection, we need to learn and evolve and learn from our mistakes. If someone
But why you make mistake if you were created like God created in his image?
We're not created. No, that's a Catholic Christian that we are created to God's image. If we are created to God's image, God will be a man or a woman or a human, and God is not.
Okay, that's the point. It's a Catholic. Okay. Okay, let's follow. Yeah, you have more things to dig. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Let's go. Let's go forward. Thank you.
Okay. Philip, go ahead.
83. Do spirits have an end? We understand that their source is eternal, but we want to know whether their individual existence has a fixed term, and if after a given period of time, the element from which they are formed is redistributed. Does it return to the mass from which they are produced, as is the fate of material bodies? It is difficult to understand the concept that something that has had a beginning does not have an end. As humans have limited intelligence, there are many things that you do not understand. Regardless, this does not constitute sufficient grounds for rejection. Children do not understand all that is understood by their parents, nor does an uneducated person understand all that is understood by an educated one. The existence of spirits has no end, and that is all that we can reveal at this time.
Interesting. For a very long question, a very simple and direct answer, right? Yep. The existence of spirits has no end, and that's all we can reveal at this time. What Kardec is trying on with this question here is that idea that that some believe that when when our physical body dies, we go back to a whole. We go back to we are part of a whole, that when we are incarnated, and then we go back to a whole, that we are not individual after we go back to the spiritual world or at a certain point of our evolution. So Kardec is pondering here is in at a certain point we become again part of something. Like the physical body becomes part of matter again, a part of earth. Our physical body goes back to nature and is reused by nature in different formats. If the spirit at a certain point of its evolution would have an end and be redistributed or reintegrated to this universal something. This question Kardec is asking because of that idea that we may go back to the universal one, or we go back to God, as some believe, and also because he's having difficulty grasping the idea of something that has a beginning but does not have an end. And the spirits are really not very helpful here in the answer, because they say, the existence of spirits has no end. And that's all we can review, because, they just tell us we are children that cannot understand everything yet. But because we cannot understand doesn't mean we should reject it. We just should wait until we are better prepared to understand. So the idea here is that the important concept here is that we as individual spirits, we have no end. We are going to study the evolution of the spirits, the different classes of spirits, and we know that one day we all will reach perfection. And once we are perfected spirits, we no longer need to reincarnate. We can have incarnations like Jesus had on earth. He didn't need to reincarnate. He incarnated on earth to serve as a model and a guide, as an example to us. So once we reach perfection and no longer has a need of reincarnation, we are working directly with God. But even as Christ, we continue to evolve, because as we are never going to reach the same knowledge and perfection as God, there is always, as you move 2 lines to the infinite, there is always something else to learn, even as a perfected spirit, and continue to evolve. But perfected spirit, a characteristic is that they no longer need to reincarnate. So they reached the top of the pyramid in terms of the need of reincarnation. Okay. Questions, comments here We're not going to go to the next item because we have only 4 minutes left.
I understand. I like to make the comment. I understand that there are religions that do believe in that at the very end, they go back to the whole, the totality, no?
Yes, there are.
I think Buddhism, and I think Hinduism, no? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know if Carol knows because she knows a little better about other religions. But you know, I know that some religions believe that we go back to being part of a whole. But for instance, the major religions, they believe that the soul survives the death of the physical body in different forms and different understandings, but not as going back to being a whole, like the
source,
Muslims,
the source.
yeah, well, the source. The Muslims and the Christians and the Jewish, they all believe that we continue to be individual spirits after death, with different versions of where we would be, on what we would be, but still individuals.
Yes, in Buddhism as well. Not so much Hinduism.
Oh, not in the, okay. In Buddhism, yes, but not in, okay.
Not so much in Hinduism, right?
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so we stop the first part here. We have a couple of reminders. This Saturday, the live talk of the United States Spiritist Federation is with Susana Timões. Some of you may remember her from the events that from our own center, that she was there giving a lecture, and from the events that we have throughout the United States Spiritist Federation movement. She's a worker of the Spiritist movement in Miami. She's a member of the Spiritist Federation of Florida, former director of the United States Spiritist Federation, and she's the co-founder and responsible for the Conscious Living in Miami. Paco, your second group.
Yes, a very good group. I love them.
So Susana is going to give, the lecture is Mastering Relative Happiness, this Saturday at 11 a.m. on the United States Spiritist Federation, on the YouTube and Facebook. And we have on this Sunday, this is the last Sunday of the month, so we have our Q&A session. We have a whole class dedicated to your questions and answers, so feel free to join us, bring your questions, so you can send us the questions before. This is this Sunday at 11 a.m. Okay?
Yeah, I like to ask about that cohort thing, collective. I like that.
Yes, bring that to Sunday, please, Paco. And you, Renato, that didn't ask a single question today also.
I know. Renato.
So, Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure, yes, thank you. Thank you, John. Infinite Creator, Supreme Intelligence, First Cause, we are grateful to be together this evening for our study of the Spirits book, studying the chapter 1 of the Spirits, the origin and nature of spirits. We are grateful that we have these lessons to enlighten us, to inspire us, to have the nomenclature and the various terminologies explained in a greater depth. We are grateful for this understanding and the sharing in which we are partaking in. The spirits are the intelligent beings of this creation, and God has created us with the spark or the seed of perfection. Each day we are growing, we are evolving, we are correcting our mistakes, and therefore we are moving slowly but surely toward becoming a perfected spirit. We give thanks for the teachers, for the guides, the helpers, the healers, and the spiritual benefactors who are with us. inspiring us, giving us greater courage to move forward, and helping us to understand this wisdom. May we continue with our prayers, with our studies, and with our mindfulness throughout the week. And may we be of service. May we share our creativity. May we share our blessings with others. May we be able to share what we have learned as we do so through our mindfulness and through these studies. We ask now to receive the love and light of Christ within us, within our hearts, and within our minds. May we be more open. May we listen within our hearts to others. May we share what we know, those closest to us who may need assistance. We ask also for healing for those who are in need at this time. We humbly ask now to go forth in safety and to be protected as we go to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we be blessed and may they also be blessed. We close now and try to remind ourselves to be beacons of light with a good heart. Go forth now in peace. Go forth now, so be it.